Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Cave. It's Monday night. As always, you're leading to Monday Night Football. Forget about all those other pundits and all that nonsense. We're your leading to Monday Night Football. We're here. And as you can see, it's not Jimmy Dee and Mike Tag tonight. As a matter of fact, Mike Tag has some family business he needed to tend to, so he's taking care of that. So we have a much more handsome, much better looking host tonight with you. We got Greg on board. How you doing, Greg? How was your week?
Good. How you doing, Jimmy?
Doing well. Thanks. I appreciate it. So, did you have it besides football and anything good this weekend with the family?
Oh no, we just chilling out. I'm getting just getting my little rest on, getting ready to fly up to Pittsburgh for that game. Contacted my brother this morning so we can get everything straight. He's a diehard Pittsburgh fan, so he's going to be picking me up at the airport. Him and his wife are getting there from Birmingham, so we're going to have some fun.
Yeah, it sounds like a good time. Hopefully you avenge the loss that we took from them in week 1. What's up, Vince? Cuts, Cowboys Nation 600 Cuts. This has SNL written all. So what? Yeah, you know what? I was telling Greg before. You see, Mike Tag runs all the behind the scenes stuff. I'm trying to figure it out, but we'll be good. We'll be good. But no, we appreciate everybody coming out tonight, and I'll tell you, we'll start off first of all on a kind of a sour note. I want to make sure we thoughts and prayers to everybody affected by the hurricane, and there's a lot of people with a lot of damage and flooding and all sorts of things going on. So our thoughts and prayers are out to them, and hopefully they get back to normal as soon as can be expected. So, Ultra, what's going on? We got a Falcons fan running a Cowboys show. And you know what? We'll get to the Falcons just a minute, because I know that everybody else was happy with the Cowboys. Greg, were you on with Mike Tag this weekend talking about that Cowboys win last week?
Oh yeah. We were on the early show before the game talking about it. But that show felt good this weekend not to have to worry about and stress over the Cowboys and just sit back and watch everybody else and watch the Eagles go down, watch them feathers start getting clucked, and just sit there and just
You know what? I'll tell you. And once again, we talked about it all during the off season into the summer. We said the Eagles are not real. We talked about it. And where's our resident Eagles fan here who's running his mouth? Carl, where are you at, Carl? You in hiding after what happened yesterday?
He flew back to the cuckoo's nest somewhere. Probably hiding. Because they got a lot more than just what's going on in the field as problems. They got some turmoil inside too. And Hurts isn't too happy with the coaching staff. So, once that starts imploding, everything goes south.
No, exactly. And what do we have? We have Hurts again. Turnover machine. It seems to be consistent with him from the end of last season up through now into this early season, right? Yeah. And I don't want to hear about who's hurt. AJ Brown's hurt, and all these teams are having injuries. The Cowboys have injuries. We have injuries. The Niners have injury. I don't want to hear anything about that crap, because everybody's got injuries. So you got to deal with it. You need next man up, right? But I heard Sirianni might be on the chopping block. Greg, what do you think?
Oh, I think he is on the chopping block. And because Sirianni, he's not following his game plan that he did when they went to the Super Bowl. He was all ego, and he was a narcissist, and he had a good team, and they were on the winning streak, so he could talk smack and be arrogant. And all of a sudden now, when things aren't going his way, instead of him staying to the course, now he's starting to get desperate. Now he's calling out his offensive coordinator. Now he's kind of calling out players. It's just like Zach Wilson did. No, it's not my fault. Not my fault.
Right.
Oh, see, sorry. And they're not winning, and they're not happy. They're not motivated, and they don't have that camaraderie anymore. Kelsey's gone, which was a big motivator on the offense. So they don't know who they are right now. And with the injuries, they don't have the confidence that the next man up can replace whoever was on the field. So they're all looking at Sirianni. Sirianni's looking at them, and everybody's trying to figure it out.
Yeah, it's true. And, first of all, I can say one thing. Obviously, being Cowboys fans, you guys have to deal with the Eagles twice a year, and you can't stand them. And I saw it firsthand when we took care of our business beating them on the road a couple weeks ago. I mean, just watching Sirianni and his stupidity on the sideline, he's just an annoying person to watch. Coupled between that and having to hear Kelsey rambling incoherently for an Eagles commercial, basically the entire second half of Monday Night Football. I was just glad that we walked out there with the win, and what did they do? They went down what was the score yesterday? At one point, they were losing like 21.
They were getting beat. They were getting busted. And then, as usual, a lot of teams, when you start getting in the end of the third quarter and into the fourth quarter, if you got a lead, sometimes, because they're human, sometimes different players start taking a play off here, play off there, but not realizing that the play that you're taking off, these other folks aren't playing at 100%. Somebody else is taking off a play. So you're thinking, well, I just take off a little play and get a little rest. These guys will hold it up. No, they're thinking the same thing you're thinking. And before you realize it, the other team is catching up with you. And then you got to go and realize that, look, we need to get back to what started this game and what got us where we were, and then hold them off.
Yeah, exactly. Or you end up like us in the Super Bowl and things go wrong. You got to stick to the game plan, right?
Yeah, you got to stick to the game plan.
But, on a real quick note, Cuts, if this is true, we're not talking baseball, obviously, but if Pete Rose has passed, God bless him.
Oh, no, not Charlie Hustle.
Charlie Hustle. Fan. Yeah, who belongs in the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
And we lost to Kimbe Mutombo today, man. It's just a sad day for sports right now. So, man.
I didn't see that about Pete Rose. It must have just happened because I'm a diehard Cincinnati Reds fan since way back in the 70s when they had the big red machine and we went back-to-back World Series. I got their replica World Series rings and stuff like that. So, I mean, Charlie Hustle, he should have been in the Hall of Fame, no doubt, with all the crooked stuff that was going on in Major League Baseball, and they're gonna call him out on something like that. And he never betted on the Reds.
That's the whole point, right? Yeah. He never bet. He didn't shave point. He did nothing to affect his team. So what's the difference, But you talk the Reds. They ended up being the Yankees in the '76 series.
Yes,
so
they did. Yes, they did.
But yeah, Johnny Bench, Big Red Machine, man.
That's right.
So I wanted to touch it, Chuck, and I know we're kind of bouncing around a little bit. There's gonna be a lot of NFC talk tonight, and obviously a little bit of baseball with the Pete Rose news. So, Jimmy, do you think the Falcons are underperforming? I feel like their roster should be more productive. So, if we look yesterday, I'm gonna go to that Saints game because obviously that was back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Kirk Cousins and Greg, when I'm done, rambling here, I like to get your perspective a little bit. I look at it and say, there's points of brilliance, and then there's points where I'm like, man, he still looks timid. Mm-hmm. I look at yesterday, he was like 60% completion. He threw for like 260, no touchdowns, the one interception. The ball distribution was even, between Pitts got he got no catches yesterday. But you had Mooney, you had Mooney, Bijan. You had it equally distributed between 45, 60 yards for Ray McLeod amongst four different players. So equal distribution, no Pitts was in. Our defense took care of our business. Special teams took care of business. We got two touchdowns off the defense and special teams. What do you think about the Falcons right now as far as where we're at, and specifically Kirk Cousins?
The Falcons have a very talented team. To me, they're stacked. Kirk Cousins is the question mark because when Kirk is on fire. But Kirk doesn't know he's on fire until he starts playing and it just starts to rolling, and then he just goes into the zone. But when Kirk is not on fire, it's iffy. It's like your defense got to save you and keep you afloat, hopefully down there to get a field goal. It's just like when they lost to Pittsburgh. If he kept them down the field, just take what they give him, your field goal kicker wins that game. Now, when they played the Saints, the field goal kicker won that game. But, I didn't see much of the game, but I know that Kirk had to be the overwhelming factor as the reason why you didn't run away with it. And that's the problem, the only problem the Falcons have. They went and drafted a good quarterback, great quarterback who's going to be a good quarterback, but he doesn't have the experience. Cousins has the experience. He has the ability. And when he's on, he's on. And what they're looking for Kirk to do is just don't lose the game. Don't lose the game. Keep us in a winning situation, but don't lose the game. But every now and then, Kirk does something in the game that changes the momentum big time. And then from that point on, the game becomes close because your losses have been close, which means you guys are on the right track. You are on the right track. You're on the winning track to be successful. Kirk just has to be consistent for one full season without the iffies, because every season he's played, he either has one good season and then the rest of the seasons he's like this. He's like this. And if he can just get like this, you guys would be awesome. But he's either going to get it and be consistent, and you guys get to the playoffs, or he's going to stay like this and you're just barely going to miss it.
Yeah, and it's concerning because we lost two of our we lost Drew Dahlman and Caleb McGarry, two starting offensive linemen. We lost Dahlman for the season. That's big, and his replacement yesterday took 2 false starts at home. You shouldn't be doing that, So again, but that's no excuse. I mean, Cousins had time yesterday. Obviously, the Saints defense they don't have a bad defense, but Bijan, he's a little tweaked up. He didn't get as many carries yesterday as you expect. Algier took care of his business, 60 yards rushing on unlimited carries. But, again, I'll take the win, but I just want, like you said, I want him to be on, not that kind of up-down situation. Right. And getting to the point, Chuck, you're saying, you see how Cousins leaves Minnesota. Now Minnesota's the best team in football. And we're actually going to get to that right now with talking about some of the surprise teams in the NFC and in football. I mean, so yeah, Minnesota, Sam Darnold, a cast off, right? Everybody shrugged them off. We sat here and said they're going nowhere fast. You got Green Bay in that division, and they're just taking care of their business. They were beaten up on Green Bay yesterday. I know it ended up close at the end of the game, but they ended up taking care of their business. What do you think right now about that Minnesota situation? I got to steal with Sam Darnold.
Yeah, they did. And Sam Darnold is a great example of somebody like Goff. Some of these and Baker Mayfield. Some of these quarterbacks that the system just wasn't right for them, or they had too many offensive coordinators in there and too many coaches changing, and they never could get consistent coaching so they can stay on an even keel. Some of those quarterbacks were washed off after a couple of years. It's like, they're not, we'll just use them as a backup. But if you follow NFL football for a long time, a lot of those quarterbacks that sit back on that bench like that were supposed to start off great, and they start off decent, then they start to fall off, and before you know it, they faded out the picture and they're back up, and you have to ask, who are they backing up with? Those are the same quarterbacks that mature as a couple of years go by, and they get a little bit better, and then before you know it, they become the stars. Everybody wrote off Goff. Look what Goff is. They wrote off Baker Mayfield. Look at Baker Mayfield. They wrote off Darnold. And if not for that rookie quarterback getting hurt out for the season that they drafted, Darnold doesn't see the field. Minnesota, I bet, does not become the Minnesota they are now. No. Darnold's had time to sit back and reflect, mature, and realize what he needs to do in the game and not stress and just go in like, you know what? They don't expect much from me. So I'm just going to go in there and play relaxed and have fun. And if it works, it works. And I think that's what he's doing. He's more relaxed. He's having more fun, and he's not stressing. So he's just going out there playing ball, and Darnold is lighting it up.
Yeah, he is. And, like you said, you took the words out of my mouth with Baker Mayfield. Look at Geno Smith, a resurgence up in Seattle. And I was shilling for him last year, and I am again this year. Again, I don't like to see the NFC teams winning. I need my Falcons to get distance between all of them, and so do the Cowboys. But yeah, that's a great point. You're right. When they're sitting there kind of marinating, and they still have that competitive drive, and they know they're going to get their shot, and make the best of it. But I mean, look at we're talking about surprise team Washington.
Yes. But you look at this though, Washington is Dallas Cowboys Part 2. Dan Quinn took 2 of our coaches. Dan Quinn took several of our players. He tried to take Al Harris. He tried to get a couple more players, but they wouldn't leave. And the defensive players he took, Dorrance Armstrong, and I forgot the other one, those guys were critical to our defense, and they were keys. And now that they're gone, you can see the difference in our defense, what we're missing. And now with D-Law out and Mike out, the young guys have to step up. And Dorrance, if he was still here and the other player, we really wouldn't miss much of a beat. But Dan Quinn has Dallas Cowboys 2.0. And they got lucky in the draft when they drafted Daniels and got a good quarterback. This young man has no fear. But most quarterbacks like him that come in like that, they have no fear that first year. Because that first year, they haven't been around to get hit a lot. They haven't been around to see the game. So to them, I'm coming in here and I'm going to light this place up. They got all the confidence in the world. They have no fear. Let's go. Let's do this on 4th down. He did it 3 times, and otherwise Quinn would have punted the ball or kick the field goal. He said 3 times, let's go. And Quinn went after the debate. He went with it, and they were successful. He's going to have a decent season this year. If the Cinderella doesn't turn into a pumpkin after about game 8 or 9, but it's the second year that's the one that really exposes these rookies, because now they've been in league. People have seen them. They know what they can do. They know how to counter them. Right now, they don't know. And now he has all the confidence in the world. He's having fun. Hard to stop him. Washington has a real good opportunity to take the NFC East if they stay on the keel the way they are, with Philly imploding a little bit, with us right now not knowing exactly what we're going to do because we're at injured players. Our defense looks shabby. We don't have an identity yet. And the Giants, they put their foot in their mouth by getting rid of Barkley to an East rival and not getting a quarterback. Of all the quarterbacks they could have got, they kept Daniels and paid him. So they are what they are.
What a bunch of dummies. That's
good for him.
So Ultra, in 21, if D-Law doesn't get hurt, we never know who Micah the pass rusher is. If in 23, if Diggs doesn't get hurt, we never know. Bland, I believe this year is Marshawn Nealand.
Yeah, Marshawn Nealand, he has to step up now. Now he can't look over his shoulder and say, well, they don't start me, so I go in and do what I got to do, but they're going to rely on the starter. No, he's it right now. And Bland, even before Diggs got hurt, Bland was still the man. So either way, we're missing Bland big time on that other corner. But D-Law, I'm not a hater of D-Law, so let's not get it twisted. But to me, D-Law needs to step up a lot more than he has. Between the two that I'm more concerned about us missing because of injuries is Micah Parsons, because of his energy, his tenacity, his drive to want to go play. D-Law should be the unequivocal leader of the defense, and I just don't see it in him. I don't see it. I think D-Law has passed his prime. He's just below his prime, and I don't think D-Law has it in the tank that much more. Now, some people would say otherwise, but when you watch Dallas Cowboys play, do you really see D-Law making a difference on that defensive line? I don't.
Well, I say Micah Parsons, I mean, he's just the man. I mean, that's a dude any team would love to have him. Like you said, not only because of his ability, but because he's intense. And you know, like Eugene says, he's hungry. Yes, right? He wants to be. And that's a tough lot. How many games is he out? He's gonna be out.
Well, right now, I think between the two of them, 4 to 8 games. Now, they're talking about Micah. They haven't written him off for the game for Pittsburgh. Obviously, they're going to say that because they don't want to give Pittsburgh an advantage to start game planning against them. I mean, without him, they're just going to act like, well, we haven't written him off. There's a possibility he can play. Well, you got to say that so you can get up to the game time, and Pittsburgh still figuring out how they're going to address our defense. Is Michael going to be in, or is Michael not going to be in? I don't think Michael plays against Pittsburgh. I don't think he plays the next game either against Detroit. I think they might try to push him in to play against Detroit because that's going to be a big game. But be honest with you, I think they let him rest and we go into the bye and get him a little bit more rest before we come out and go play the 49ers and somebody else. But D-Law is out for a while. I think D-Law is going to be out at least about 8 games. His foot injury is a little worse.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, you're talking half the season, and Ultra saying Overshown will bring the energy. But still, I mean, look at obviously I'm in the cave every week. I'm tight with Cowboys Nation, but I don't know as obviously as much as you guys do. But I don't know, man. Micah's energy that's hard to match. But
it is hard to match. You know, Micah is one of a kind. Micah's like a big kid in a candy store. He loves the game of football. He doesn't get into all the political part about football around him. He just wants to go out there and play hard, and sometimes at reckless abandon. But Micah is not somebody I have to worry about. Micah needs help. Micah needs help. Micah needs somebody on that other defensive end to step up. And I would love to see Mike Zimmer maybe use Overshown as the other defensive end on several packages. He's got the speed, tenacity, and the bulk to get in there quick at the quarterback and put pressure on him. And I wouldn't be surprised if they use him like that or put him in some rushing packages. But then some other linebackers are going to have to fill that space out there on the outside if the quarterback gets a little time.
See, now let's talk about the thing that everybody knows was the issue the entire offseason. You know, that now we got the hashtag fire Jerry, fire the GM, whatever. Derrick Henry, when we saw firsthand what he did last week down at AT&T, and then you look what he did last night in Buffalo on prime time, and you got to just shake your head. I think that pissed Cowboys Nation off more than anything else. I mean, what was 198 yards from scrimmage last night? Can you imagine him in this offense? I mean,
Jimmy, you're exactly right. I watched that game last night. Jimmy, I sat back and I just sat there and I was like, damn shame. Look at what this man would have done to the teams that we played after what he did to us and did to Buffalo. Look at what we would have had in the running game to open up the passing game. It was so painful last night watching that game, knowing that he should have had a Cowboys uniform on. And then I heard today, have you ever seen The Pivot podcast with Ryan Clark? If you've never
not yet.
seen it, oh my goodness, it is intense. It is good. If you ever get a chance, go see The Pivot. That's Ryan Clark's podcast. I saw one on there today, and it was a previous show where he was asked. He said, they said, what happened with you in Dallas, man? I mean, everybody knew you were going to Dallas. Everybody figured that was the perfect fit. That's what Dallas needed and everything. And he said, you know, I thought so too. He says, I kind of thought I was going to be in a Cowboys uniform. He said, but they never even reached out to me. He said, my agent told me they weren't even interested. And there's never a they when it comes to the Cowboys organization that's not interested. There's a he, not a they, because they consist of owner, general manager, personnel director, et cetera, and they all collude together to talk about players. No, there's one man that made that decision, and that was Jerry Jones. And you know, if we're talking about it, Jimmy, you can imagine how Jerry felt last night watching that game and watching Derrick Henry thinking, damn, I let that train leave the station.
He did. And, you know, I'll tell you, here you have Ultra saying, why are Cowboys fans crying about Henry? Titans fans are, move on. Because you could have had him. It's the same reason why. Okay, you're talking about Jerry and his shenanigans. Why did he wait till the last minute to sign Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, right? There's one example. He waited too long on that. And it was drama and all this other crap, right? You guys could have had Derrick Henry, and it would have made a big difference right now. Yes. So again, Cowboys fan, they're not crying. It's just being honest. You had him. He would have been in Dallas. Like Greg said, they didn't even reach out to him. I mean, that's crazy.
The Titans, listen, the Titans aren't crying because the Titans the Titans were garbage. They knew they were garbage. They were at the point. They were at the point where, look, we're garbage. And Henry's our best player, but there's a ticket, a big tab on Henry. We're garbage. Let's start rebuilding. So let's get rid of Henry, save a whole chunk of money, use that to try to rebuild in all these other holes we got. It's like having a roof on the house, and you got 15 buckets all over the house getting water, and you're sitting there saying, "Wow, well, which hole do I patch first?" The biggest hole.
Right.
You patch the biggest hole. The biggest hole was Derrick Henry sucking all that money from them, and they don't have money to get other players. So they said, let's patch that hole. And then now we can save money to fix all these other holes because it's not going to cost as much. So letting Henry go, it wasn't that they weren't crying because they thought Henry was washed up. Oh, no, they knew Henry wasn't washed up. They knew they were washed up. And to try to get better, get rid of Henry and get other players in and start a rebuilding effort. And the Titans they've still been trash. Even when Henry's gone, they're still trash.
And Ultra, it has nothing to do with Pollard. At the end of Ultra, I don't know if you're on bath salts tonight or what you're ingesting tonight, but I mean, to say that it was a stupid move not to pick him up or at least give it a shot. They didn't even give it a shot. I mean, give me a break. And I don't understand. And it's easy for me to sit here because we have Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson, so we have two starting running backs. And and I feel badly because you guys, Zeke, expected way too much out of him. You knew he wasn't going to be getting 4+ yards a carry. That just wasn't going to happen. You needed the your kind of fire and lightning situation, and you have in this case, you have the fire, you don't have the lightning with Zeke.
And you're right. And the thing with Zeke's situation is, whether it's Zeke, Dowdle, or Lipke, the offensive line is the key. We got a young offensive line. They're doing decent to be their first year and stuff. And Guyton and BB had trouble against the Giants. They had some issues, and they kind of got a little exposed and realized, okay, our first 2 games, even though we didn't do much, we held our ground. But now that Giants game, we can see where we need to improve. But the offensive line has to open up the highway. You open up the highway, Zeke's going to get past a linebacker. You open up the highway, Dowdle's going to run over a linebacker. And Lipke is almost like a moose. He'll run over a linebacker. But the offensive line has to do their job as well in order for our running game to succeed. Not just the running back runs up to a cramped line and finds a way through. But Pollard's situation, which was so puzzling with Jerry, I don't understand what Jerry sees, even when fans can see more. Pollard has never been, his role has never been to be the beast. He was you had the lightning, which was Zeke. He's the quick fire, and he was never supposed to be the beast. And when you got rid of Zeke, he thought Pollard was going to take. Pollard is this big, and Pollard is a juker. Pollard is the one that can get when the line is open, and Zeke helps open that line. Pollard can get make that ground way, but Pollard can't do Zeke's job and his job. But then he gets rid of Pollard, and then he doesn't get Henry. I'm like, well, instead of getting rid of Pollard, keep Pollard, go get Henry. When we had one show, Mike Whitenham had one show, and Jerry came on the show. He wasn't visible. He called in, and Mike said, Greg, this is Jerry Jones. You get a chance to meet him and ask a question. I said, Jerry, it's been an honor to meet you. I said, I'm so glad I finally get a chance to talk to you. I said, my question is, are we going to get anybody in free agency to help Pollard? We need a beast back there. Jerry's first words, yes, we need a beast. A beast would be what we need. But, Pollard's tank is kind of running on empty. It puzzled me because either he's saying his tank running on empty because he put him in the bad situation to try to play a Zeke and a Pollard position, or is he saying that because he thinks Pollard isn't the man doing the job that he's supposed to be doing when that's not Pollard's role? But then, and then he said, and at the end of it, he says, well, at the end of the day, you have to go with what you got, which told me we weren't going to get anybody in free agency. And sure enough, next week when free agency came up, we didn't get anybody. So it was $. It was a money thing with Jerry. Jerry wants to get everybody with Walmart prices, and you're not going to do that. And if you're all in, you should have went all in and got Derek. What Derek got for 2 years with Baltimore, he could have got that easily by signing Dak early, saving that $5 million, signing Lamb, saving that other $5 million, and give him that $10 million for 2 years. He got $9 million, I think, for 2 years Baltimore, and we'd have a running game. He blew that. But a general manager, a real general manager, would have done it. He would have done it. So you can't be all in and make all the decisions, but you're making bad decisions. He needs to call some of his fans up. Call me in the front office, Jerry. I can help you make those decisions, and it wouldn't be a problem. But you just have to open up the pocketbook.
I'll tell you, well, we have Jeff saying Pollard he wasn't 100% healthy for the first half of the season. Injuries are going to happen. That's tough. SoCal, yeah, love you too, buddy. Enjoy the game. Where you're leading, you should wait till kickoff to be going over there. Now I'm very offended, SoCal. Okay, so it is confirmed. Rest in peace, Pete Rose. Aging.
Wow, Charlie Hustle's gone.
Man. So not signing Lance to be a third string, and I agree with Jeff on that. Again, I mean, I'm surprised that they at least didn't try to get something out of that. You know what I mean? I'm still scratching my head at that.
But think about what you just said, Jimmy. You said, I'm surprised they. There is no they. There is no they. There is no they. Remember, 31 other teams have an owner, general manager, personnel director, so-and-so, so-and-so. One team has owner and all the hats. He wears all the hats. So he thought he saw Trey Lance on the market. He saw what was going on with Dak. He hadn't signed Dak. He's thinking, Dak won't let me sign him for Walmart prices, like I always try to get players. After that game last year against Green Bay, and I'm kind of feeding into the media, well, maybe I get Trey Lance and And if I get Trey Lance, I can put Trey Lance up there and get Trey Lance for peanuts, and then I'll trade Dak. That's Jerry. I bet you that's what Jerry's thinking was. And I bet he came close to thinking offloading Dak, getting all this money and paying Trey Lance, and then it don't turn out the way we wanted. Because, Jerry, in the past, Jerry used to love to go out and get baseball players, quarterbacks, not draft quarterbacks. He wouldn't do that. And see, he got to stop that. If you want to win, Jerry, you go all in, open up that pocketbook during the season, get a general manager that says, Jerry, we got to go get Derrick Henry. Jerry, there's a linebacker over here in Atlanta, and they're getting ready to let him go. We need to get him, plug and play. Jerry, we're looking good, but this is game 10. Right. But right now, our cornerbacks, we need, Jerry, there's a cornerback in Chicago. We need to go get him. That's what successful teams are doing. We're not doing it. We're not doing it.
See, now, and now we have Ultra Call. He's saying not a lot of teams drafted 8 All-Pros like Jerry has.
Yeah, that's true. But at the same time, you can't draft 8 All-Pros, and then, Jerry, you make some kind of decision during the year to sabotage the team. He goes out and get Amari Cooper. What'd he do? Cut Amari Cooper over some BS. He let him go. Now there's talks, small talks, about possibly bringing Amari Cooper back. He lets Zeke go instead of giving Zeke some compliments or giving an offensive line that can block for Zeke and Pollard. Then what happened a year later? He brings Zeke back. He can't do that. He can't do that.
And I'll tell you, I'm spoiled being a Falcon. Terry Fontenot, he came on 3 seasons ago. We went from we were 31st in the league in being upside down on cap to being this year, we're the best league. We had a surplus. That's how we were able to get, absorb Simmons and Matt Judon in training camp, which was huge pickup, huge. And Judon yesterday tipped that pass by Drew Brees, and my man Troy Anderson took care of his business, pick 6 to the house. But anyway, Fontenot, we're just, again, he's very smart. He's very strategic. Yep. He knows what he's doing. And again, Jerry, Mike Tag and I were talking about this maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago when Jerry was saying some crazy stuff. And I wonder, and I'm not trying to be, funny or silly or whatever. I think Jerry is getting old. He might be, losing a little bit. Yeah. Right.
Twilight Zone. Let me tell you something about Atlanta, though. If Atlanta wants to really make a big push this year, the general manager better start looking at the board and see what players are trying to step off at other teams. Look at Reddick. You got the money. Look at Reddick. Look at these other players at other places that might not be happy, or some players that look like they might be letting go from other teams. Plug and play during the season. When you see something that might be somewhat of a problem on your team during the season, an area, that GM needs to be looking around the NFL saying, okay, what can we do to bolster that area? Let's go get so-and-so. That's what successful teams are doing that are getting to the Super Bowl and winning, or getting to the Super Bowl, period. Jerry is not doing that. We didn't go out and get anybody during the regular season last year to plug and play. We stuck with what we had. He drafts really well. But at the same time, you have to get key enhancers during the season to put that glue in here and bring it all together. You can't just draft well and say we go with that. You got to get the enhancers, and the enhancers are out there at other teams just waiting to be plucked, but he's not doing it. He's not doing it.
And we have Steve saying that the only 2 plays he's concerned with, once again, are the D-line and linebacker. Ultra. See, now it's funny, Ultra, if you were here for the draft show, Greg said, and I don't know much about college football, I'm not going to pretend to. Greg sat here and said on the show we did live, he said, if Penix is available, the Falcons should take him. Yep. So I went with that because I trust Greg. And guess what? I'm happy. The more, obviously, after we draft him, I read about him. I've seen a lot of him, him talking. He's got the right attitude. And you know what? He's the future. So why wouldn't he?
And by drafting him, that let Cousins know you can't get complacent back there, Cousins. Yeah, you got paid.
Right.
The second time he got that big contract from teams where, to me, he didn't really earn that contract. But I think they're looking at Cousins and saying, Cousins can be a Goff. Cousins can be a Baker Mayfield. Those players that a lot of people say, they're decent, but they ain't that. And Think about it. All the quarterbacks in the league now that have been there for a while, they have experience. This is why teams are getting smart and keeping them, because these guys got experience. They're maturing. They're getting better. They see the game. Eventually, they're going to start putting it together. And that's why Detroit took that big chance on Goff. They saw it. That's why the Buccaneers said, let's bring Mayfield in.
Yeah.
That's why Minnesota didn't have a problem with Darnold being the backup for their draft pick, because they know that these guys are at that mature level where they're starting to see it. And we don't see training camp. We don't see how well these guys are doing in training camp as backups, that the coaches see that this guy's really getting it now. He's looking better than he was when he was a so-and-so. He's starting to mature now. And that's why people say, why did Jerry give Dak all that money? Dak gives us the best chance. Dak is going to be a winner. You know, everybody wants Dallas to hurry up and win a Super Bowl because we're the biggest icon in the galaxy. Well, it takes time, but you get rid of Dak, you're starting over. But Atlanta,
right,
you guys are right there. All you need to do is make sure during the season you go pick up a plug-and-play player to enhance certain positions that you need, and then that'll take you where you need to be.
And you know, I'll tell you, now we'll get back to the NFC in general, because now I'm worried. Like, you know, I checked off. We have Seattle week 7. Mm-hmm. To me, that was a win. Checked it off. Minnesota week 14. I checked that off as a W2. And Washington last week of the season, I checked that off as a win.
Yeah.
Right. Right. I mean, so now, what are you thinking? Because we had a few. I think it was Ultra, and there was a few people who said, look, they don't look at the first 4 games. They don't look at. But what are your thoughts when you look at Seattle, Minnesota, Tampa Bay? I mean,
they're scary. They're scary. These teams are, you know, every year there's a team or two that comes out of nowhere. They got it. That normally you think, this team, you can write them off. We got them. And then all of a sudden everybody's saying, look at so-and-so this year. Look at so-and-so this year. You look at Atlanta, it's playing much better. They got the losses they got were right on the edge. So Atlanta is still there. They beat the Saints. We got crushed by the Saints. Philly beat the Saints. And Philly's straight trash right now, but they did have a few more weapons. And you look at Tampa Bay, you look at Minnesota, look at Seattle. In the NFC, there are teams outside of the NFC East that are rising and are hungry and want it. And we play them. And, buddy, with the way we look right now, if we don't get our act together, some of these teams are going to trounce us. And we play y'all in Atlanta.
Yes.
That was one of the games I was considering going to, but I think I'm gonna hold back for a while now because I've 2 games and I got some other stuff going on.
Yeah.
But that is going to be a showcase game because you guys have it and we're trying to get it together.
The one weekend when on the draft show and Mike Tag said, you got to tell me beforehand, so there's no excuses. What weekend can you not make it, or weekends? I said, I know the first week in November. Of course, it turned out to be that weekend, so I'm bummed I'm going to miss it in person. But I'll tell you, you know, to your point, you know, you're right. I'm sitting here saying Tampa Bay, like I didn't see this coming, right? Mm-hmm. And all these other teams, we got them in our division, obviously. But you know, you look at us, the Chiefs game. All right, now Kyle Pitts gets tackled in the end zone, no call.
Y'all had that game.
We had that game.
Y'all
now,
had that game.
We get the ball back. We have it down on their 12. We can't convert a 4th and inches. Okay, so we, you know, we had a second chance, shot ourselves in the foot, but then you get back to Pittsburgh, where you know, Cousins try to force in double coverage. It's pick up. Like you said, both of those games are this close to us being 4-0. So I agree. So, like, you know, from a Cowboys perspective, you got to be looking at us. The Saints coming out of nowhere.
That blew my mind.
Washington.
Either the Saints were on a real high because they played the Panthers first game. Nobody thought the Panthers was going to beat Saints anyway, and they blew them out. And when they blew them out, I said, 47 or something. That's the Panthers. They ain't never do that to us. 44 on us, and I was like, the Saints are for real. So I just expected them to beat Philly, which I wanted. And then Philly beats them in New Orleans. I said, man, these clowns are pumpkins. They straight pumpkins. They had 2 good games, and now they garbage. And then they lose to y'all, which means y'all got a good team. So that was a good game. So it's not like they are the Panthers. Y'all are a good team. but y'all beat them and y'all came back and got that field goal when a lot of people don't have a whole lot of confidence in that field goal kicker with Atlanta because he's not truly consistent. Some games he has real good games, and then some games he's kind of off. But I was like, man, don't miss this 50-something yarder because that was almost out of his normal range. He split that goal post, man. I was so happy that he beat the Saints. And I'm sitting there saying, the Saints done lost to Atlanta, good team. They lost to Philly, and then they blow us out. I said, the Saints are straight trash. The mask has come off. So the Saints, I don't expect them to go that far this year. But y'all in y'all division, Tampa Bay's in y'all division.
Yeah.
It's going to come. I think it's going to come. It's Tampa Bay, Atlanta, the Saints, and who else?
Carolina.
Don't worry. It's going to come down to y'all in Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
And right now, Baker Mayfield is far more consistent and confident in how he's playing and they're playing right now than Cousins is. And if Cousins can get it together consistently during the season, but either way, I still think it's going to come down to y'all in Tampa Bay for that division.
Yeah, and you know what? At the end of the day, I'm just hoping to take the division. But if I got to worry about, like you said, at Tampa Bay, and we're looking at a wild card, and I'm looking at all these other teams that come out of nowhere that are playing well, and I hope you're right about the Saints. Especially that's our big rival. The Aints. We don't like each other, right? So I mean,
but y'all got them. Y'all got them the first game.
We took care of our bit. Now, Koo, to your point, is he can be inconsistent, but when it comes down to get kick it when it counts, getting the money shot, if you will. Right. He's money on those game-winning field goals. That's one thing, and that was 4 yards out of his normal range. So, that was awesome. And you see how happy the team was and how they praised him. When you praise a kicker that much, it also sends another. You respect him, but it also sends another signal that you're not accustomed to him winning games like that. That when he does win a game like that, you put him up here like he's the second coming. Because if he was a Baltimore Ravens kicker, if he was Aubrey, everybody would have been happy, but they wouldn't have picked him up and everything like they just won the Super Bowl because they knew that there's times where he misses those kicks. But to hit that one, and it was normally out of his range, not only were they jubilated, but they were they were real happy, and that's why they lift them like that, because some of them on the team probably didn't expect them to hit it. No, I mean, and then again, it was tough. I mean, it was a long field goal, but you're right. It was hype. It was like, and that does send a message, and that's the culture that Coach Morris has set up in Atlanta, which I love to death. But you're right. That does send a message to other teams, and they believe in him, and we're not worried about that. And he's our man. And so Steve right now, Dow, he's worried about cornerback when they go up against these teams with 2 to 3 air threats. Yeah, I go crazy.
It's a concern, but I'm more worried about our defensive line. If we look at the games that we lost them on the defensive line. We lost them on the defensive line. Our corners, if they get torched. Why is that? Because the defensive line is not putting pressure on the quarterback. Jimmy, you and I can stand back behind any NFL team as the quarterback and get a Dallas Cowboy pass rush, and we got enough time to throw the ball to anybody we want. Because it's true. It's true. Y'all see how people run down our throats. The Giants didn't, because the Giants don't have a running game. They don't have a running game. The dummies got rid of Barkley arrogantly and didn't even consider he might go to your rival. And then you didn't replace him in the running back. So I don't know what they were thinking about. But everybody else runs down our throat. They use the Green Bay Packers playbook to run down our throat. That's what I'm more concerned about. Cornerbacks, where goes your defensive line, goes your linebackers and cornerbacks. If your defensive line isn't putting pressure on the quarterback and they're not consistent, then your cornerbacks are going to be left out there. Because remember, you're a cornerback, I'm a receiver. I know where I'm going. You don't. You have to chase me, and you don't know where I'm going. And if you give quarterback enough time, he's going to get me the ball through the gaps. There's always gaps in zone coverage where we can deliver ball. You give him enough time, he's going to find them. So if our defensive line gets it together, our corners will have a field day because the quarterback's going to get desperate.
So I know earlier we were talking about, and I missed this comment earlier so Steve had mentioned about Dalvin Cook, and that I'm scratching my head at. Why did you even bring him in if you're going to make him sit? I don't understand.
Yeah, I think now I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt that they put him on the practice squad, number one, because they want him to get acclimated with the Cowboys playbook first week. They brought him in after training camp, when the season started, and we already have our three main running backs, well, four running backs that we have, and we got game plans for him and everything. So you don't want to plug him in right away over one of them. And it's only been 2 games or 3 games. Yeah, 2 games so far. So, but now's the time against Pittsburgh to activate Dalvin Cook. Who they're going to deactivate, I don't know. Deactivate D-Law. Hell, D-Law's out for some weeks. Put him on IR or something.
Yeah.
Bring in Dalvin Cook now, because against Pittsburgh, that defense, if we keep running at them and Dalvin Cook gets a few yards and Zeke and Dowdle and Lipke comes in and gets these screens, that's enough to keep Pittsburgh thinking, and we got to keep an eye on the running game because Dallas got a few shifties. Boom, opens up the pass game.
And I can tell you from, having played them, you could run on Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah.
So that's, so I think that's a smart move. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you deactivate somebody who's hurt anyway?
But I know the answer to that question.
Pride.
One man.
Yeah.
Jerry Jones. One man, Jerry Jones, tells McCarthy, I don't think we need to bring him up right now. I can see it. I bet it wouldn't be a McCarthy decision. It'll be a Jerry Jones decision not to bring him up.
You know what it is? I think at this point it's pride and ego, because he's heard it over and over, and you're like, screw that. You know what? Instead of doing the right thing and saying, you know what, let's just activate it. Right? It's stupid.
His ego is that big. It's bigger than a bobblehead.
Yes, it is. So, Steve, we've been in desperate need of a big defensive line and run stopper forever. We should have grabbed Calais Campbell. I got news for you. We didn't re-sign Calais Campbell. I was questioning that situation. I love Calais Campbell. He had 6.5 sacks last year in Atlanta and missed a couple of games. So that would have been a really good pickup. I was bummed we lost him.
I think y'all didn't sign Calais Campbell because of the money. Calais would demand a little bit more money than they would want to pay him, when they could use that money, all that cap money, to go out there and get some fresh young talent. And to be honest with you, y'all don't miss Calais Campbell. Yeah, it would have been a nice addition backup, but y'all don't miss him. So you're not hurting in that. That was a good decision on Atlanta. But I don't know that Jerry wants to spend that money on somebody that's been around that long. What can Calais Campbell really bring in and contribute to our defensive line? I'm not sure. Maybe some leadership, but we don't need leadership. We need muscle. I really wish we could get a lot more out of D-Law than what we're getting. And maybe I'm not seeing what everybody else seeing. I just don't see it. But now with him and Micah Parsons out, we got some issues. You think our defensive line was bad before, we got some issues now. And if Fields gets all day, our corners are going to get torched.
Yeah, and it is a concern. I mean, and either that or he's going to stretch it out. He's going to stretch things out and bootleg and all this other stuff. He's a double threat, and you got to worry about him. But I mean, again, you don't want to come off. You went into New York, you beat the Giants last week, you took care of your business. I don't care what the score was, you still won. You did what you had to do.
It's a win.
Win is a win. But it'd be nice, like you said, going to Pittsburgh and again, a winnable game.
Yeah.
Even with Fields being the double threat he is, it's still a winnable game. And I guess you see what happens. But I'd be shocked. Besides the big ego, besides Jerry, you still, let Dalvin Cook at least give it a shot.
Wait a minute.
Give it a shot.
And I really believe we're going to beat Pittsburgh. I mean, I'm not just saying it. I really believe we're going to beat Pittsburgh. And I think the offense is going to make sure that. I think the offense is going to score at least 28, 30 points on Pittsburgh. Defense, they got a good defense or whatever. I think we're really game planning for Watts and their defensive line. And I think we're going to have some special packages in there, because I'm not confident that Pittsburgh's secondary can stop our receivers. I'm not confident they can do that. And if Dak takes what they give us and not try to overdo it, I think we're gonna score a lot. I really, really feel we're gonna go into Pittsburgh and beat Pittsburgh. I really do. My brother had the nerve to put on Facebook today. He said, "Oh no, Pittsburgh, 2 major injuries. and we play Dallas next week, and I put back. I said, Mike, don't even try it. I said, don't even try it. I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to put it out there like if Pittsburgh loses because of major injury. I said, we got 2 major injuries also. And then one of my other Cowboys friends from Birmingham, he came back and said, Mike, we've seen that scheme you're trying to throw out there right away. We had major injuries in too. Next man up. Don't even try it, Mike. Right. That means Mike doesn't have confidence that Pittsburgh can beat us. He thinks we're going to go in there and beat Pittsburgh, and I feel we are.
The big concern was Watt. Do you remember that movie, The Water Boy with Sandler? When Jerry Reed or Coach Boyu is on the sideline and says, college football for dummies, and they're reading the handbook, and they see that Henry Winkler is doing those plays. That's what I felt like when the Steelers were playing against us, that he had the damn book and was looking up Coach Morris's plays because he was in our backfield, more than Bijan and Tyler Algier. So that's hopefully you got something to stop him because
he's a beast, man.
He is a beast. He is the reason, honestly, why we lost that game. He was in the backfield all afternoon. So hopefully you find something to stymie him a little bit.
Yeah, and y'all still, even though he was in the backfield, you still had opportunity. You still kept the game close. That's the thing. You still kept the game close and could have won it. Now,
final drive.
I bet they're gonna line him up against Guyton. I bet they're gonna line him up on Guyton. And I know Guyton is probably sitting back saying, oh man, this is gonna be my biggest test. I'm going to Pittsburgh and I'm gonna have to try to block Watts. And Watts is gonna try to have a field day on Guyton. But if Brian Schottenheimer, if Schottenheimer is smart, he realizes that, and he's coaching up Guyton, but he's offense coordinator, but he's also looking at Dak and saying, Dak, we know Watts is going to be the biggest issue. So let's come up with some schemes on how we're going to get rid of the ball quicker, how we're going to run away from Watts, and how we're going to do different schemes to get around him to alleviate the pressure he's going to put on our young offensive line. If I'm a fan and I can think that way, these coaches who are getting paid big money to do this should already be thinking that.
Yeah, you know what you need? You need underneath routes, and you need opposite side passes out into the flats to your running backs is what you need.
And don't put Lamb in the backfield and try to run a jet sweep or run them right. Because when we did that against the Giants, what we did, we signaled to the Giants that we don't have a running game. If we got to put Lamb in the backfield and give him the ball, we're telling the Giants we don't have a running game. We're telling the NFL we don't have a running game. Work on that offensive line to make the hole open for 2 seconds so our guys can get past the offensive line, because all you want is about 4 to 5 yards each run, and that's up to the linebacker. He gets past that line. He gets to the linebacker. That's 4 to 5 yards. He makes one good juke. That's a first down. But the offensive line has got to give them the holes. They got to make that hole open.
And that's it. Well, Steve says Guyton held it down against the reigning defensive player of the year week 1. He's got trust in him. Yeah, that's
week 1.
But to your point, right? If you line up CeeDee Lamb in the backfield, you're conceding. You're telling them
conceding already.
Right.
And he didn't. What did he do in that game when he was backfield? Nothing. They got his little popcorn behind and bust him on the sideline. He did nothing back there. Now, you take Cavante and do him on an end sweep where he comes around in motion and takes it, or he comes around on the sweep and takes it and run. That's different. But you line Lamb, little bony butt, right up in the backfield like that, and you think Lamb, it's hard enough for the offensive line to open up holes. You think the wide receivers are going to be able to block those guys long enough so that the linebacker doesn't rush in and get Lamb? Lamb didn't get 6 yards, and that I don't know where they came up with that.
No, it's like Thunderlips said in Rocky 3. He's going, break him in half.
Yeah, that's what if they would have kept it up, that's what would have happened to him. He would have been out there on the bench just like Micah.
You don't want, and that's just a bad spot to put him in anyway, like you said, because he's going to get cracked.
Yeah, he's going to get cracked. And one of our biggest issue in 2 games are penalties. Penalties have stopped major drives for us. And because it stopped those drives, it put the defense back on the field too soon. We had 11 penalties for 89 yards against the Giants. You know how many Giants had? 4 penalties for 35 yards. Teams before that had Ravens had single-digit penalties. In 2 games, we've had double-digit penalties for excessive yards. Those penalties are killing us. They're killing us. We got to correct them. We did it last year too. I don't know why the penalties are our Achilles heel. We stop those penalties, then our drives are complete. We can get the touchdown. Or we stop the penalties. We keep the offense on the field longer so the defense doesn't have to rush back out there.
Right.
So we got to get a hold on those penalties.
Sustaining drives is what it's all about.
Yes,
like you said,
we have to, and we're not doing that. Those penalties are killing us.
We had issues yesterday. Like I said, Drew Dahlman, our center, he's out, and his backup Brian Newsel. I mean, home game. You don't take false starts at home. That shouldn't happen. And he took two. Yeah, two, and one of them late in the game, so it almost cost us. Actually, on the final drive, he took it. To Steve's point, no discipline. Discipline will kill you. Like Greg said, it isn't just stopping a drive. It's now your defense is out there longer than they have to be. They're tired. They're gasping for air. And, come third, fourth quarter, if that's been happening a lot and that lopsided time of possession, yes, exactly. So that's a great point.
And you got to consider, we got a young team. We have a young team. The people we drafted last year and the year before, they're the ones that are having to start now because of the injuries and and then all the players leaving and going to Washington. Dan Quinn was smart. He said, before, when I go to Washington, I'm taking some of these players with me. And they went. And he almost got Al Harris. Oh, I'm glad he didn't get Al Harris, our coach. And he almost had a couple other players, but they didn't go. And we got two other of our coaches that went with him. And if we have those just the players alone, we're in better shape right now. But we got young players who are having to step up against a mature Pittsburgh defensive line. And the scheme has got to be ready for that game. We have to scheme for that game. This will be this is week 5.
Yeah.
We will be in the 5th game. By now, all the hiccups have to have been subsided. All the mistakes and all of the corrections on defense and offense, offensive coordinator, defense coordinator by now, and the head coach. Game 5 is where you start to make a difference. He showed in game 4 against the Giants. We're making a difference. Yes, it was the Giants, but we did make a big difference. They never scored a touchdown. They didn't score a touchdown. That's huge. They got in the red zone at least 4 or 5 times, and we stopped them. That people don't. It's the Giants. Well, the Giants got in the red zone.
Yeah,
and we stopped them. So we're doing something that's better. But now we got to show that we can continue to do that against Pittsburgh.
No, and like you said, just it's all about the schemes. You got to deal with A, Watt, and B, Fields, just containing Fields. Don't let him get all the way outside of the pocket.
Yes.
That's when bad things happen, right?
Yeah.
But is there anything else? I mean, obviously, we paid some homage to Pete Rose, rest in peace, and we talked a lot of football. Is there anything else, Greg, that you wanted to touch base on? Because we're on the final countdown to Monday Night Football, and again, we're your lead-in.
Ultra got a good point about he said Cowboys are a draft and development team. How long does it take fans to understand that? Ultra, one thing about our Cowboys fans, all they understand is if the Dallas don't win, it's Dak's fault. They don't think any deeper than that. Most, not all of them, but a lot of our fans, they don't think any deeper than that. They don't think, oh, we got a young team. We draft and we got a lot of young players having to step up now because we got injuries and blah, 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 blah. They don't think past lost Dak. Even when we lost to Green Bay, Dak gotta go. Dak lost the game. Oh, the defense didn't give up 41 points, but they didn't think about that. They didn't think about that at all. All they saw was Dak didn't win the game. So I guess Dak's supposed to play defense too. But that's how they think, a lot of them. So you're right, Ultra. You can see that. I can see it. Most logical people can see it. But unfortunately, some people in Cowboys Nation, they don't see that. The first person they want to blame and the only person they want to blame. And they don't understand how teams are developed and how long it takes. All they see is Dak.
And Cowboys Nation 600 saying facts. And I said at the end of last season, I said, hey, look, man, I would have taken, before we made moves with Penix and Cousins, I would have taken him in Atlanta because you don't have the drama. You don't have all the, the Jerry chaos and all the other stuff. Yeah. I would have taken him like that. If we would have signed him, I know he still had a year left. If it would have been a trade, a sign and trade, I would have taken him all day long.
But a whole bunch of teams, Jimmy, a whole bunch of teams were out there waiting. They were like, "Woo, Jimmy's about to make another saboteur move that he always does." And when he does this one, everybody's gonna be out there. They'll be standing outside Walmart trying to sell Girl Scout cookies to get the number one ticket to be able to bid on getting Dak. A whole bunch of teams were waiting to sell the kitchen sink. I bet you some of the teams said, "Honey, you're gonna have to go and sleep with Dak because I'm giving him the house, the car, the keys, and you, because we're getting Dak." A whole bunch of teams were waiting on Dak, and Jerry knew it. Jerry knew it, but he thought if he held out long enough, Dak would say, "You know what, Jerry? I'll take those Dollar Tree prices. Come on, Jerry. Ain't nobody that's stupid no more. They know your playbook. And if you sign them early, you were going to give him the money. Give him the money early. Give Lamb the money early. Now you can sit back and go get Derrick Henry." Damn, I hate to see Derrick Henry when he's playing, man. And then to hear him say, "They never called me."
Yeah, right.
You know,
that's a kick in the nuts, man. That's
I thought I was going to be a Cowboy too. But Ravens is exactly where I'm supposed to be. Even to hear Henry say that.
Doesn't he live in the Dallas area, Derrick Henry?
Yeah, he moved to the Dallas area and was working out.
Oh, okay.
In the Dallas area.
All right.
He just knew in his mind Dallas was going to give a call.
Wow.
And all this time, I'm thinking that it was just too much money to Jerry and them call. Jerry and them didn't even call. Jerry didn't even call. And then told a lie on the interview the other day after he beat us. And he says, after seeing what Derrick Henry did to y'all, do you regret getting Henry? He said real quick, he says, "Oh, we couldn't afford Henry." And then next question. Damn lie, Jerry. I wish I'd have been that reporter. I would have said, "Really? Really, Jerry? That's your answer? Really? Come on now."
Yeah, he had to double down on that.
He had to double down. He had to because his ego. If he had a minute, he would have flew away.
I can't, being a Yankees fan, we had Steinbrenner. He had an ego and he was always fire matter, but he would go get him. Yes, he would go get him, and it wasn't an issue. And I miss him. I mean, the Yankees are a mess in the front office right now. I wish Steinbrenner. I wish we could resurrect him and have him running things. But you take Atlanta. Arthur Blank. Occasionally, you see him on the sidelines. He keeps his mouth shut, keeps his face out of. He doesn't want to be seen. As far as football. Gave a big donation to the Hurricane Relief Fund. That's emotional to see of him. He does a lot for the community, and that's what it should be. Yeah. I don't need no owner trying to, like you said, have a big ego and thinking he can run everything and make all these football moves. Which ain't happening.
Arthur Blank isn't trying to wear all the hats. Arthur Blank is just like in any business. Surround yourself with talent. Surround yourself with people you trust, with talent to make the decisions, and then delegate that authority to them. Don't micromanage them. But delegate that authority to them and let them do their job. Jerry delegates all authority to himself,
which is stupid because any business owner, whatever, that you're absolutely right. They don't do everything. They're not judge, jury, and executioner.
No,
they delegate out. They put the best people in the best positions to do what they got to do, and he doesn't seem to get that, which is shocking.
Yeah, and I respect Jerry. I respect Jerry for bringing the dynasty back to Dallas. When he bought Dallas, he still didn't know what it took to bring Dallas where they need to be because we had aging players that were still on there from the old era, and they were losing a lot of money, and the Cowboys ended up selling because they needed to get out of debt, and Jerry bought it. But the best thing that Jerry did was to go and call Jimmy Johnson after about 2 seasons and said, "Jimmy, I need you to come coach the Cowboys. Because we need something." That's the best decision he ever made. The worst decision he made, which Jimmy was his best friend, was over an ego trip over a drink. Ego trip, fire Jimmy Johnson over some bull. And then 25 years later, he admits, I'm one of my biggest regrets. 25 years later, after everybody's dead and everybody's too old to remember, my biggest regret is firing Jimmy Johnson. Because even Barry Switzer, when he called him in the office to give him the job, Barry walked in and said, "Where's Jimmy?" And Jerry said, "What do you mean, where's Jimmy?" He said, "Why isn't Jimmy in here?" He said, "Jimmy's no longer the coach. You're the coach." He said, "Why do you ask about Jimmy?" He says, "Because I want to know why y'all F this up." That's
right.
Barry Switzer talking. And Barry Switzer didn't coach us to the NFC Championship that year and the year after. Aikman and the triplets and the team did it. Barry just sat back and clowned.
Yeah.
So
he was
Jerry messed that up. I respect him for bringing the dynasty back, but I always say it, and you'll always hear me say this. Every season, there's one sabotage thing that he does that messes up the team success. There's always one that he does that messes up the team's success. And last year, going into free agency, it was not getting Derrick Henry. And this year, follow on, not getting Derrick Henry.
Right. You're still paying the price. And like you said,
and I got to watch Derrick Henry run all over people.
All over everybody. But so we're running into Monday Night Football, so we got to wrap it up here quick. And has the game started yet?
The game started. It's been in about 20 seconds.
Oh, okay.
So the field goal, and it is good.
Okay. I need Akane, and I need the Dolphins kicker, because I got 2 leagues. I'm in the Cowboys league, and I got another league that I'm in with Camel Piper and his crew on the other side. But I'll tell you, I just, Mike Tag. See, there's another reason. Mike Tag isn't here. He knows why. Because 2 weeks ago, I took care of him in fantasy. Last week, I took care of Cuts in fantasy. Stephen Mack, you're next. Tonight, I'm whooping that ass. And just, Cuts, you know what? Bring me the title now. I'm taking care of my business. But
all I know is my other brother, he's a diehard Buffalo Bills fan. He's been in a lot of Buffalo Bills games. He met a lot of the players. I know he wants Miami to lose.
Well, I need fantasy. The Dolphins. I mean, my old man's a Dolphins fan. God bless her. They're just a mess. Hey, Cuts, I told you, bring me my title. Just start making it right now.
Man.
So stop throwing bricks. Exactly. Mr. Brick. So I got to throw out there for everybody. I know Mike Tag's talk about it, the Autograph app. And again, if you haven't checked it out, it was developed by, I believe it was co-founded by Tom Brady. It's a really good app. You can pick all your teams, your leagues. It doesn't matter, football, baseball, basketball, hockey, whatever, it's tennis. It don't matter what it is. And basically you're getting all your teams all in one spot. You're getting it all in one shot. It's really good. Don't forget to go in there and download it and use I think it's Mike Tag. And Mike, if you're watching, forgive me. I'm fairly certain that you got to put in Mike Tag as the code in there to get that.
Yeah, Mike Tag. I was on it today.
Yeah, it is. I get every morning. I get the updates. I'll go on there and see what's good. It's a great app, and I'm not shilling because it's a show. I'm shilling because I just love the app.
Yeah.
All right. So everybody enjoy Monday Night Football. Greg, it was fun spending time with you. I really appreciate
hanging out with you too, Jimmy.
Yeah.
And Mike's going to see it. We're going to try to do a show Sunday early, since that's a late game from Pittsburgh. We're going to try to do a show. And my brother, I told my brother Mike invited him on the show. So if we get the internet, and if he brings a laptop and we can get on, we're going to get on, and my brother be on the show with us.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
As long as you got that smoke signals in it, like Kelly does sometimes when he's fading in and out. But
yeah.
So be on the lookout, because it should be Kelly and Mike Wednesday, and hopefully Greg and Mike Tag. And what was your brother's name again? Your brother's name was Mike. Okay.
Mike,
Yes. Hopefully it's Mike, and Greg on Sunday. Everybody, thanks for joining in. We appreciate it. Love hanging out as always. Have a great week, and we'll see you here. Mike Tag and Kelly, see you on Wednesday night.
How about them Cowboys?
Give me somebody that's hungry. Give me somebody that's hungry. I need somebody.
Great show, Jimmy. It's good hanging out with you, man.
Yeah, it was a good time. Just making sure the stream is ending, making sure we might still be on, people, and I just don't even know it. So I appreciate it, Cowboys Nation. If we're still on, Cowboys Nation 600, appreciate it. I thought I knew how to end the stream, but here we go. End stream. Thanks again, everybody. We appreciate it. Cuts, Jeff, appreciate you guys hanging out with us tonight.